My name is John Breckenridge, and I wanted to give you a quick tour of the Independent Presbyterian Church in Savannah, Georgia, and an overview of some of the historical figures and some of the events that have taken place in the church, and opportunity to see the beauty of the sanctuary as well and its uniqueness within the skyline and the history of the city itself.
The steeple here is 227 feet tall. It's the highest point in the city of Savannah. Here's the great first edifice of the church, founded in 1755, and is a charter from King George II of Great Britain. The sanctuary that you see here was built in 1889 as a reconstruction of the sanctuary that had been first built in 1819 and burned down in the Great Hogan Fire of Savannah, Georgia, 1889, April 6. So when it burned down, there was very little left, and there's some pictures that I will show you here in a moment. But the story goes that Robert Grant, the sexton of the church, was on the roof and was hoping to save the church from being a total loss. But unfortunately, this steeple, which is made out of cast iron, was made out of wood, and one of the embers from the fire that was about 3 or 4 blocks northwest of this site landed on the steeple, out of the reach of the sexton and any of the hoses and any other opportunities they had to stop the fire. And it caught the steeple on fire, and the steeple fell to the west onto the top of the sanctuary and destroyed the sanctuary. Here you see the magnificent inside of the sanctuary that was reconstructed in 1889, and the sanctuary itself, they did not have, the leaders here at the Independent Presbyterian Church did not have any kind of architectural plans to draw on. So unfortunately, they had to do what they didn't want to do, which was to create from photographs, from memory, and from similar churches that they found in the Northeast, Providence, Rhode Island, and so forth, and the Boston Public Library. They had to find the best they could as far as plans go. It took 2 years to reconstruct the sanctuary. They got the best craftsmen they could find. This mahogany pulpit here, imported hardwood from Brazil, and the columns in the corners of the sanctuary are actually made from, the insides are from old growth cypress trees here in the southeast, and the flooring is from marble from the state of Georgia, granite walls, and oak pews. So all of this dates back to 1889 to 91. In addition to the cornerstone of the church, this is the only item from the original sanctuary of 1819 that survived. And this is the baptismal font. And being a Presbyterian Reformed church, you'll notice that it is off to the side. The pulpit is 14 feet high, and it is elevated in an effort to explain to the congregation and to anybody in the room that it is the Word of God that is supreme in the service and not the sacrament, which is, though important, and at the front of the church, not in the center of the service. Being a Presbyterian church, there is no altar. There is a table, and this table is where the communion elements are presented. And behind the communion table would be what is known as the elders' bench. And the elders' bench, legend has it, is where elders would sit underneath the pastor, watching the congregation, making sure that they were not falling asleep. Don't think that was ever done, but makes for a good story. Now let's take a step up into the pulpit. the high pulpit. Most people would never see this. So going up the stairs, come up the stairs, and then as the minister walks up, he's going to see the nameplate here. It says, "Sir, we would see Jesus." And then you walk up. Scriptures are here. And then this is the view from the high pulpit of the congregation. The sanctuary here at Independent Presbyterian is going to hold comfortably about 800 or 900 people. Supposedly was built to house up to 1,200. In the back you see the organ and another facet of Presbyterian and Reformed worship. The congregation would not see the choir. The choir is in the back of the sanctuary. The organ is in the back. The musicians are in the back. Again, everything is centered on the preaching of the scriptures. So the idea is that the music and the musicians are in the back so as not to distract from the greater purpose, which is the proclamation of the word. The most famous of the ministers at Independent Presbyterian is this gentleman here, I.S.K. Axon. He served from before the Civil War until 1891, and this is the only monument to any pastor in the history of the church. Interestingly enough, his granddaughter, Ellen Axon, was the future wife of Woodrow Wilson, and they were married here later on, so I'm going to go show you that as well. Here we see Mary Telfair, never married. Mary Telfair was born late 18th century, 1789, passed away 1875. She left an inordinate amount of money to the Independent Presbyterian Church. She had a stipulation in her will that said if she were to ever find out that the church had taken down the high pulpit, that she wanted her bequeathed back. She created a number of things that remain with her name on them in the city of Savannah, including Telfair Hospital for Women, which is now part of a larger system, but her hospital, first hospital for women in the South, and actually where I was born, 1969. And that hospital closed in 1979. She also created the Telfair Academy of the Arts and left the money for that, first art museum in the Deep South. Quite a lady. So Woodrow Wilson and Ellen Axon are married here in June of 1885 at the Independent Presbyterian Church. Where I stand is the site of the manse for the church. This is 4 years before the church burns down. This is a reproduction of the room. Now, the furniture has been saved from the deconstruction of the building when it was replaced with a Sunday school building. And this is the man here, the grandfather of Ellen Axon. This is I.S.K. Axon that I told you about a few moments ago. And then here's a picture of the manse in which they were married. And long story short for us is that everyone knows that Woodrow Wilson becomes a widower during the First World War and remarries, and it is his second wife that is the president shadow president, not Ellen Axon, Ellen Axon Wilson, who passes away during the First World War. Thank you for letting me show you around Independent Presbyterian Church. The congregation is 274 years old this year, and it has been a central factor in the history of the city of Savannah ever since it was first founded. The church has had some very difficult times, of course, when it burned down, and burned down twice. The congregation is still strong, about 900 members today, still a guiding light for putting forth the gospel in the city of Savannah. with many folks who are passionate not just about this beautiful building, but about proclaiming the gospel. And it's been my pleasure today to show you around and give you a little taste of what the church is like. Thank you.